So this is my 2016 road trip where I drove down through, I took the long way and I went all the way down through Utah and through Canyonlands and through Arches and so forth, all the national parks. And I've already published the time-lapse 1080p version of the video has already been published. This is going to be the slower, more laid-back pace where I'll do some commentary while I'm driving. And we'll look at it in 4K. And I had a camera mounted on the dash, as you can see. I was using my Sony AX100 to shoot this. Right now, I'm just arriving at Zero Avenue. Now, this road runs right along the Canada-US border on the Canadian side. Those houses you see in the background there, they are actually on the American side of the border. In fact, that ditch there is all that separates Canada from the States. Those houses on the right are in the United States. The buildings on the left are in Canada. This road is in Canada. So that ditch that's immediately to the right of the road, that's actually the international border. And there's no fence or anything. Anybody can just walk right across. They're not advisable because they do have sensors on there. So if you were across the border, you'd be met by the Border Patrol pretty quick. But I'm going to drive along here. I'm going to cross at a crossing called Sumas. That'll take me into Washington State, and then we're going to go down and basically drive down through Oregon and down and then into Utah, and we're going to go down that way through Salt Lake City and go that direction down in through Canyonlands. This is a trip that took me about 2 weeks to complete, and a lot of driving. This is going to be this video will be spread out also over several parts, and we're going to take the more scenic route, and I'm going to show you the highlights, whereas the previous version basically showed you the entire trip. This is going to focus on the more picturesque portions. It's all done in 4K, and the speeds you're going to see will be typically normal speed. We might go to 2 or 3 times on some stretches, but for the most part, this is going to be shown at normal speed so you can actually see the scenery, because there is some really beautiful scenery coming up. Hope you enjoy it. So here we are, pulling up to the inspection station. I'll have to shut the camera off, obviously, as I go through there and get upset about that type of stuff. I don't anticipate any trouble crossing the border. Never had any trouble in the past, so I think they should just probably wave me straight through. This border has really changed since the last time. I mean, it is a brand new building. Last time I was here, it was just like a little window. It was like ridiculous. But it's a lot bigger now, that's for sure. This has all been totally redone since the last time I was here. So we cleared the border. Now I can get on the road. The American Customs guy was quite interested in my little setup with my camera. He says, how do you solve the problem with the reflection from your window? Well, it's called a polarizing filter on the camera to kill the reflection. It said it works pretty good, actually. So we're just passing Front Street here in Lyndon, Washington, which is where we're passing through now. I'm heading towards Yakima. That's the next major center where I have to make a turn, I believe. I'm just looking at my map here, so we'll go to Yakima and then start heading down, cutting across to the east there. You gotta be kidding. A roundabout? There's a roundabout on the freeway? Okay. I think this guy's putting his brakes on a little bit hard. What do you think? And that's why they say don't drive beside trucks in a roundabout. You saw what happened to that truck ahead of me. He ended up in my lane. We have another roundabout. What's going on here? What's with these roundabouts? get onto
right.
I'm gonna get onto Interstate.
Take the freeway.
I-5. Head down towards Seattle, and then we can branch off towards Yakima and start heading towards the east. So basically what I did is I went and crossed at Sumas just to avoid the long lineup at the other crossings, which probably wouldn't have been much longer anyway because I could use my pass there, but oh well. I don't think we probably didn't save much time because we're now back where we would have been if we had gone through the Pacific Highway or Peace Arch crossing. We would have been right where we are now in Bellingham, southbound on Interstate 5. So we're heading southbound on I-5 now, just south of Bellingham. We have another 94 kilometers to go before I get on to, before I have to take my next exit, according to Mr. GPS anyway. Traffic today's not too bad. Traveling in the fast lane here as I'm passing a few slow vehicles, and then I'll be getting back into the other lane. But I've seen a number of police officers out already. They're thick as thieves out here. You're trying to turn around, there's one parked at the side of the road doing radar. And we're just coming up on the bridge here that was wiped out by a truck a few years ago. This is a brand new bridge because a truck went by that was a little too high and wiped out this bridge, and it collapsed. At least part of it collapsed. That was a big news story because the truck had a pilot car ahead of him that should have been able to warn him on the radio that the bridge, there was a low bridge coming up and that he was too tall, too high, he was over height. But apparently the pilot car, the woman driving the pilot car was too busy texting while she was driving, and she didn't notice that the height marker that she had, basically they have a couple of like fiberglass whips that stick up on the front of their vehicle, and if they hit anything, it sets off a light. And anyway, apparently she didn't notice the light or the buzzer or whatever goes off in her truck. It says, hey, we got a problem up ahead. Your truck behind you is too high. So she never got on the radio to warn him that he was over height, and he took out the bridge. And that caused a major inconvenience for people down here for a while there, as they had to reroute around that river crossing. It added some pretty major delays. I remember one of the times I was down here was shortly after it happened, and I got detoured. Okay, we're about to take the exit 405 south exit towards Bellevue, Renton. We're just taking the off-ramp now to get onto Highway 405. Right now we're just a little north of Seattle, so we're gonna start heading over to eastbound and down here. We're gonna go underneath an overpass. There's the transponders there on the back side of the bridge and the cameras. And there'll probably be some on this over here. It's got prices, right? So there's the toll lane there. It tells you if you're in that lane how much you're going to pay. And there should be some cameras up ahead here. Up, here we go. So here's the cameras coming up ahead here on this structure. It photographs everybody going by and reads their scanners if they've got a scanner on their car, and there'll be a series of these, so they basically know where you get on and where you get off the express lane. And every many miles there'll be another one of those camera setups, so they know who's gotten on and who's gotten off. You see, here's what happens is people will pop in and out like the guy just did there. He crossed over the double line. People will jump on there where they know where they're past the camera, and then they'll jump out of it again before they get to the next camera. So they kind of cheat. As you can see, here's a sign that shows how much you have to pay, 75 cents. If you've got 3 or more in the car, it's free. How do they know how many you've got in the car, though? That's the thing, right? It's free if you got 3 or more in the car, but how are they going to know that? You know, if you got blacked out windows, what are you going to do? You know, everybody have to carry their own transponder with them? How do they figure that out? Anyway, that's the toll road. So we've been driving now for, I guess, about 3.5 hours today. I left just around lunchtime. By the time I got on the road, it was like 12. I guess it's just after 12:30ish. By the time I got fully on the road, it's 3:30 now, and don't know how far I'm going to drive tonight. I try and get as far as I can tonight because I'd like to spend some more time where there's some actual scenery to see. I'm going down the fast way this time rather than taking the back roads on my way down. I'm going to take the most direct route down to Canyonland State Park. That way I get to spend more time and actually do my pictures down there. That old car on the left there, I guess that's a kid. Bad 32 is his license plate. And we're getting into a traffic jam. Wonderful. Rush hour traffic in, I guess this is Bellevue that we are now. So we're now getting onto highway, I think it's 405? No, Interstate 90. This is Interstate 90 that we're on east now. And this will take us to Bellevue. And I saw a sign that said variable speed limits ahead, so they're going to have some of these fancy signs that they can change the speed. I guess going through the pass, the Sunocomi Pass, which will be going over here fairly shortly. They got fish on the side of the bridge. We're just coming up on Issaquah, the next 3 exits. Well, we're getting away from some of the traffic now. I can go back on cruise control and just cruise along here and see how many people are going to pass me. I'm going to set my cruise control for 3 over the speed limit. So it's 60 down here. I'm setting the cruise for 63, and we're just going to stay on cruise control while we can and just see how many people pass me. You know, I forgot how inconvenient it is to travel in the United States with a Canadian credit card to buy gas. This is a joke, okay? I go to use my credit card at the gas pump, and it asks for a zip code, which I don't have because I'm not an American. I live in Canada. We have a postal code system, so obviously it's not going to work. So it says, see cashier, and she says, how much gas do you need? Well, I don't know. I need to fill my tank. I don't know what it's going to take. Is it going to take $20? Is it going to take $15? I don't know. So, okay, well, let's put $35 on there. Let's put $40 on there. Because I know the tank on this thing's not very big, and I haven't used much gas anyway. So I said, put 20 bucks on it. It won't take 20, but put 20. Well, I used $16. So now I have to stop, and I have to go back in, and I have to get a refund put on my card for the difference. So just stopping for gas in the States is a hassle because you can't just pull up to the pump and fill up.
you gotta, and then, oh man, what can I say? Just the way it is. Every time I come down here, I forget about how inconvenient it can be in different areas, in different jurisdictions. This is Washington. Different states have different rules. Some states you can use your card at the machine, other ones you have to go in. And then there's yet other ones that want to hold your card to fill it up, and it's like, well, no, I'm not leaving my card with you guys.
Now, on a note to this, things have changed since this video was shot. What we can do now is we use the numbers of our postal code and add 2 zeros at the end. So if your postal code was V6B1T7, you would put 61700 in as your zip code, and it would work. So for Canadians traveling in the States where their zip code is required, use the numbers from your postal code and add 2 zeros at the end, and it will be approved.
So today, because it's a nice day, speed limit is 70, trucks 60. But on those signs, they can change the speed depending on the weather conditions. No, they've had them down here for quite a while. We just got them back home on the Coquihalla Pass. They now have the same idea, the same thing. They can drop the speed down if the weather's not very good. But here we go. They've dropped the speed to 65, truck 60, and it says it's 80 degrees out. Well, my in-car temperature says 82, so. But here we've dropped the speed down from 70 to 65. Here I am about 1 mile from the summit. Had no issues at all. No power issues climbing the hill, and I'm not in mountain mode. I'm just in regular, normal mode, and I'm maintaining a speed of about 69 miles per hour, just following everybody else. But there's been no issues whatsoever as far as running out of juice. Although I don't think this summit is as steep as the Coquihalla, for example. I think the Coquihalla Highway is probably a little steeper and a much longer one than this. So on the Coquihalla, I did go into mountain mode because, again, I wouldn't have enough juice to get up. It's like 30 miles uphill all the way up straight. Just coming up on Iron Horse State Park. So we're just coming up on Wenatchee. I'm going to pass through there. I've got about another 26 or so miles before I get to Ellensburg, which is where I have to turn off and turn on to, I think it's US 97 towards Yakima. See a sign saying chain up area, so I take it that we're going to be going over another pass here coming up. It's still pretty warm out there today, nice and cool in here because the air conditioning in this car works great. Top of that ridge, I see a bunch of antennas. There must be some radio transmitters up there on top of that hill over to the right side of the screen. There's a whole bunch of towers up there. Okay, we just stopped there for a while to do some photography and take a little bit of a break, so now we're getting back on the road. I left my car turned on while I was stopped there, so what that did was that let the battery recovered its depletion, so to speak, while I was going up that big hill. I was probably getting pretty close to running out of reserve because I didn't put the car in mountain mode, so I just left it turned on and the engine ran for a few minutes to recover my reserve, and then it shut off. But my air conditioning got to stay running the whole time, so that way my car is cool. Let's get ahead of this truck if I can. I don't want to be behind him, so we'll just floor it and pass him. And now we're back on the road again. That gong sound is, that's my GPS warning me that I'm going over 70 miles per hour, which is the speed limit down here. The GPS knows what the speed is, and as soon as I get to like 72, it gongs. Clouds up ahead. See the rays of light, the sun shining through those clouds. It's kind of cool. Looks like there could be some rain up ahead, doesn't it?
I believe if you leave the freeway at the exit on the right, you'll be that much closer to the end of your destination.
So here's the Yakima River. Bridges here.
I believe if you leave the freeway at the exit on the right,
I think that's where you want to be.
You'll be that much closer to the end of your destination.
Well, I guess we're going to continue on this way for a bit. Well, here we are. We're in Yakima. Downtown Yakima. There's a good-sized town. There's maybe a place to stay for the night. I'm just going to drive around and see what there is here, but it looks like they've got everything here, so this might be a place to stay for the evening.
Well, that's enough driving for today, so what we'll do is we'll pick this up in the next video as we continue our travels starting at Yakima and heading down towards Utah. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one coming up real soon.